For more insight, let's bring in Weekly Standard reporter Andrew Egger. Thank you so much for joining us, Andrew. Like I said, it's a hot topic today. One of the things that I had mentioned before with your notes that you had sent me is that the president is really doubling down on this. Why?
Well, you know, it's really not surprising to see this kind of one way or the other black and white rhetoric from the president. Obviously, he tends to take a sort of binary view of these things, and this report is really embarrassing for the FBI. It shows a lot of, you know, at least bad behavior, if not, you know, corruption and things like that. And so, obviously, it's not surprising to see the president say, you know, it's
I'm
good
exonerated.
For them, bad for
Take
me.
it one step further.
Yeah, right, exactly. He says it's exonerating to him. He says it's discrediting to the Mueller investigation. In reality, this report doesn't have that much to do with Mueller. But what it does show is that, you know, the FBI, as it was constituted when this investigation was first getting off the ground, it's very critical of their leadership, very critical of some of their practices. And so you can see where the president might say that this is at least shows or raises questions about how that investigation got off the ground to begin with.
And we've talked a lot about sort of the ripple effect within the FBI and political perception. I'm really curious about who else is getting affected, sort of a ripple effect. Are we going to start to see it impacting members of the House and investigations there as well?
Yeah, I actually think that, you know, the rhetoric from the White House is one thing, but probably the more important impact is going to be what we start to see in the House of Representatives, because while we've seen some members of the House, such as Intelligence Chair Devin Nunes, really ride this hobby horse about how the investigation into Russia got started in the first place. He's been on that for months, but he's sort of been fighting a one-man battle there. And just this weekend, we've started to see that much more broadly, you know, House leadership, House Speaker Paul Ryan, and Trey Gowdy, who we just heard from, meeting with DOJ and FBI officials just over the past couple days and making clear that they need to turn over these documents about how the Russia investigation got off the ground.
That's sort of what I'm curious about, because, and we heard Trey Gowdy this morning, and he said, listen, they have to respond to those subpoena requests. Does this put more pressure on intelligence officials to respond to House investigators, and why?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing is just that this has been going on in House Intel for a long time, but as you know, there's been a lot of questions about bias for them, so DOJ has had some cover to fight back against these. But now, with Paul Ryan saying he's going to bring this up on the House floor, he's going to use the constitutional weapons that the House has in order to force DOJ to hand over these documents, there's absolutely going to be a lot more pressure on them.
And he also mentioned during that interview, you know, Robert Mueller has to know that this is it's fodder, it's ammunition for his political enemies. That's not something that Bob Mueller probably cares about, is it? I mean, yes, he probably feels pressured, but he wants to complete the investigation. He has to do it thoroughly. That's what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I think it's no accident that we still haven't seen people like Ryan and Gowdy really turn the guns on Mueller, because, you know, what's he supposed to do? You know, he's carrying out this investigation the way he's going to. That said, I think that Mueller probably agrees with a lot of, well, at least one of these talking points we've heard from a lot of these Republicans, which is that the quicker he gets this done, the less time this all has to roll on and him take body shot after body shot from the president, right? Clearly, however he comes out in the end, the quicker the better, I think.
And my last question, because you've been covering the White House, is, and we saw the president say this exonerates me, and everyone, you know, this IG report was sort of a separate entity. That being said, it is ammunition for him as well, and I don't suspect that we've heard the last of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is one of those things where, you know, a lot of people want to make this sort of like a good side, bad side thing. And there are people who love the president who hate the FBI, and there are people who love the FBI and hate the president. And it really just doesn't shake down that easily. You know, we've seen a lot of bad behavior here, and that does provide ammunition for the president, which even as you saw, those Democrats were sort of begrudgingly acknowledging that there's conduct there they really couldn't defend, which makes things easier for him.
I'm curious, and before I let you go, just from your coverage, who's the winner and who's the loser in all this?
Well, I think, and this is maybe sort of a cop-out, but I definitely agree with what Trey Gowdy has said, which is that really the only winner is the Inspector General Horowitz, who released sort of an exemplary report. You know, he showed that there still are people at the Department of Justice who are really, you know, just doing their job
and I think we saw that from FBI Director Chris Wray on Friday.
Yeah, right. But then obviously, you know, it's to no one's benefit to see this kind of, you know, bad behavior at the FBI. It really hurts people's trust that their national institutions are working for them. So it's definitely a loss for them, and hopefully something that they can take away from going forward, that they need to run a tighter ship.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much. A lot to break down. We're still digesting it over the weekend, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.